Hello. Thank you for joining me to learn more about creating a culture of talk using a strategy known as Talk Partners. I am Stephanie Harmon, a regional teacher partner with PIMSR, the Partnership Institute for Math and Science Education Reform, and I am also a teacher in Rockcastle County, Kentucky. This is the second session in a three-part series on academically productive talk in the science classroom. As you learn about Talk Partners and how to implement this strategy in your classroom, you will want to access the following materials. You will want electronic access to the resources that accompany this video to include the Creating a Culture of Talk Partners Action Plan. Use the Talk Partners Action Plan as a place to hold your notes, develop your working definition of what a Talk Partner is, jot down ideas for implementation, record strategies that will lead to successful implementation, and questions you have about using Talk Partners with your students. In the first session, we explored how the Communicating in Scientific Ways chart can be used to help students enter into a scientific conversation. In this session, we want to think about who students are talking to. Randomly paired Talk Partners allow students to share their thinking with a peer in a safe environment and collaborate in the same way that scientists do. So our focus questions for today: what are and why use Talk Partners? How do Talk Partners promote collaborative knowledge building in the classroom? This strategy for effective collaboration, I have found, is a game changer for both me and my students. We will discuss the importance of success criteria and how they can support students' success in learning. We will examine why random pairings are necessary to the effectiveness of Talk Partners. Lastly, we will explore how and why feedback supports effective classroom talk and learning. Throughout the video, I will share examples from my own classroom along with my plan for how I establish effective Talk Partners with each class. Take a moment and read our session goals. Effective science teaching and learning requires the three key elements listed here. Think about why each of these elements is necessary for teachers to consider when developing an effective science classroom environment. We will focus in this session on implementing Talk Partners as a tool for facilitating effective academic discourse and creating a classroom culture of we, a classroom where everyone feels valued and supported as they work to figure out the why of the phenomena being explored. So let's consider the questions: what are and why use Talk Partners? How do Talk Partners promote collaborative knowledge building in the classroom? In session 1, the focus was the why of talk. We explored the Communicating in Scientific Ways chart as a tool to support a culture of talk where all students feel empowered and supported by their classmates and teacher to share their initial thinking, evolving ideas, and lingering questions. Why is communication, specifically talk, such an important idea in a highly effective science classroom? Pause the video to jot down your thinking on your Talk Partner action plan. Examine your notes. If working with a group or PLC, take a moment to share your ideas. In what ways are the science standards asking students to communicate through talk? What do you think? If working with a group or PLC, pause the video to share your ideas. Now let's examine Appendix F, Science and Engineering Practices in the NGSS. This document is in your resource folder. Use Appendix F to select one of the practices. Read the top paragraph to ground yourself in the practice. Highlight places where academic talk is necessary. Look at your grade band. Where are students having to talk, or where would talk be helpful as students work in the collaborative development of ideas that eventually everyone owns? Let's look at an example together. Join me in examining the practice of developing and using models. Notice in the second paragraph, in science, models are used to represent a system or parts of the system under study, to aid in the development of questions and explanations, to generate data that can be used to make predictions, and to communicate ideas to others. Students can be expected to evaluate and refine models through an iterative cycle of comparing their predictions with the real world and then adjusting them to gain insights into the phenomenon being modeled. Students are developing questions and explanations. They are expected to evaluate and refine models through an iterative process. Consider how important talk is in doing this. Look at the first bullet in the grade 3 through 5 band. Identify limitations of models. How will students do this? What role can talk play here? In grades 6 through 8, students are asked to evaluate the limitations of the model, and the sophistication increases going into grades 9 through 12 as students evaluate both limitations and merits of two different models. Talking between students and between students and the teacher is critical in this practice. What will these conversations sound like? Intellectual science talk in the classroom can be a challenge to manage. Teachers need a repertoire of strategies to support talk. Pause the video. Take a moment to examine one of the other science and engineering practices. Look at the previous slide to review the task. Where do you see evidence of talk in the practice you examined? If working with a group or PLC, take a moment to share your ideas. So, what tools or strategies do you currently use to promote effective talk in your classroom between students? How do you support student success with a tool or strategy? Why is talk between students necessary in an effective science classroom? Pause the video to consider these questions. Jot down your thinking on your talk partner action plan. Examine your notes. If working with a group or PLC, take a moment to share your ideas. As you share, elaborate on how students are supported in the use of the tool or strategy for talk. List your current ideas about why talk between students is necessary in an effective science classroom. As you work through this session, consider how talk partners are described and consider how that compares to any current use of partner talk. The term talk partners describes students discussing together, planning together, collaboratively working to problem solve or come up with a design solution. Talk partners create a culture in which pupils do more talking than teachers, cooperatively discussing, answering questions, learning from each other, and improving. The idea of talk partners is not new. Talking with someone while thinking and working has many faces in the science classroom. In a 1974 article from the Journal of Research and Science Teaching, M.B. Rao shares that talk partners are a direct result of not allowing enough wait time for students to answer questions. While there are many strategies for partner talk in the classroom, this session focuses on what makes talk partners different and how they support learning. If you will recall from talk video number 1, we took a moment to think about John Hattie's research on the effect of different learning innovations. Effective classroom discussion has an effect size of 0.82. Remember, an effect size of 0.40 is considered a hinge point. Any innovation with an effect size above 0.40 has an impact on student learning, which leads to more than 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. An effect size of 0.82 means that a student engaged in meaningful classroom discussion has the potential for 2 years' growth in 1 year's time. Knowing this, it is worth our time to use talk partners in our classrooms. It becomes the mechanism for ensuring that effective classroom discussion occurs. So how are success criteria or norms for talk established? How do they help create a safe environment where every student feels comfortable sharing their thinking? As we think about how students talk and how to establish success criteria, you have noticed that we are using research-based materials. In the classroom, it is sometimes difficult to find the time to search for these supports. A valuable, easily accessible resource is the STEM Teaching Tools website, stemteachingtools.org. We will be using several of these tools in talk video number 3. Today, we will use STEM Teaching Tool number 6. How can I get my students to learn science by productively talking with each other? Take a moment to examine it. Consider how it is organized. All STEM teaching tools follow a common format. The title is a question and the sections are framed as: what is the issue, why it matters to you, things to consider, attending to equity, recommended actions you can take, and reflection questions. Pause the video to read through the tool. The tool reminds us how critical talk is. As teachers, supporting students in sense-making talk should be a regular part of our classroom routine. Talk makes student thinking explicit and public so that it can be engaged with, interpreted, built upon, and refined. Student ideas can then become resources for learning. Notice that many hyperlinks are embedded within the tool. These easily guide us to other resources and supports. Under recommended actions you can take, you will see a hyperlink to establish classroom norms. That link takes us to an excerpt from Ready, Set, Science. Find establishing classroom norms for discussion in the resources for this video. As you read the section from Ready, Set, Science, think about the 2 questions. What can you take away to support effective norms and usage in your classroom? How do the students and the teacher interact with the norms? How does Gretchen Carter's student population compare to your students? Notice that the norms are in two categories: student rights and student obligations. How can these ideas, along with what you have read and heard, guide you in establishing norms in your classroom? When we think about establishing norms, we are really thinking about what makes the talk partner conversation successful. So talk norms and talk success criteria are phrases that may be used interchangeably. Let's look inside a classroom as norms or success criteria are established. We will use a notice and wonder T-chart as we view this clip. If you have viewed the first talk video, you will recall that this utilizes the communicating in scientific ways strategies number 1, ask why and how questions, and number 2, observe. If you aren't familiar with communicating in scientific ways, create a T-chart like the one on the slide. We will use I see, I notice, I wonder how, and I wonder why as we view this clip. Jot down your noticings and wonderings. Be ready to share.
Classroom norms for respect and communication can make all students feel more safe and focused.
Okay, would you read aloud the debate question and norms, please?
Listen and respond to each other rather than just state.
When students are involved in building the norms themselves with their own ideas and language,
Think about situations where you learn best.
the norms are more meaningful and effective.
What makes it that way? What are you doing? What are the qualities and characteristics?
Norms are not a list of rules or bad behaviors to avoid.
Encouraging others.
Give and receive good, helpful feedback.
They are a list that describes the positive environment they want to live in.
We're going to open the floor for apologies and acknowledgments, and remembering that this is a time to acknowledge.
For norms to work, they must be considered and discussed almost every day.
Maybe things didn't go so well for you as they could have today.
I apologize to Anthony because I got him mad in fitness.
I acknowledge David and McDowell for letting me sit at their table at lunch.
Take another moment to finish recording your thinking. If you are working with a group or PLC, share. Did you notice how students are using the norms? Norms are not a list of rules. Rather, they describe the positive environment we want to live in. Norms are frequently considered and discussed. What you see here is an elementary bulletin board to support talk partners in the classroom, and that displays the success criteria. A few years ago, Pimzer and Shirley Clark hosted 2 action research groups in Kentucky. Shirley Clark is an expert on formative assessment. Her work is known and used globally. Many Kentucky teachers have had the opportunity to learn from her through Pimzer-hosted trainings. You will notice references to her research and work throughout this video. As part of the action research work, participants were asked to showcase examples from their classrooms. This board showcases the talk partner norms from an elementary classroom. Our youngest learners have to be taught how to engage in academically productive talk. This is different from a casual conversation. In the video clip we viewed earlier, did you notice the students' body language? Young students must be taught the importance of making eye contact with whoever is speaking, nodding their heads to share their listening, and taking turns speaking. This is an example of success criteria from an upper elementary classroom. Notice the language here. Each statement begins with I am. This reminds students that the success criteria directs how they are to interact with their talk partner. This is an example of success criteria from one of my high school classes. I teach multiple classes each year. Each class and I work together to co-create our success criteria for what makes a good talk partner. As we work through this process, other classes cannot see what other classes have created. This is part of establishing student ownership of these norms. Each class must talk through this process. As we begin, a colleague and I demonstrate what badge talk partners look like. As we finish, I ask the students to call out what was good and what was bad. From there, we begin creating our success criteria. After each class has completed this process, the success criteria for all classes become public. They are posted at the front of the classroom. The success criteria is a living document. Once posted, classes will notice what other classes have stated and ask to include it as part of their success criteria. As students use the success criteria, they may realize that something is missing and want to add to it. Part of using the success criteria is opening the floor to additions and revisions. Notice how this success criteria compares to that generated in elementary classrooms. Many of the same elements are present. You may already be familiar with SLANT. Part of being a good talk partner is paying attention to how we interact with a person when they are speaking. SLANT means sit up, lean forward, ask questions about the topic, nod your head, and track the speaker with your eyes. Our youngest learners need to be taught these speaking courtesies. Our older students may need to be reminded of these. SLANT increases students' concentration and focus, enhances their listening, and results in deeper learning. I keep a SLANT poster in my high school classroom. I refer to it often as we begin using talk partners, but find that we use it less and less as the year progresses and talk partners become part of our culture. For success criteria to have maximum impact, it needs to be known by the teacher first, should be the same for all learners in the class, must be student generated with the students or they have little meaning and less impact on learning, can be used across the curriculum, and constantly referred to by pupils and teachers. So what do I do if someone doesn't adhere to the success criteria? This is one reason why we must facilitate the talk partner conversation. As the teacher, I move throughout the room, taking notes as I go. If I notice someone isn't following the success criteria, then that student becomes my talk partner. The other talk partner becomes part of another pairing. I give my feedback to the new partner when it's time to change partners. Now let's consider how talk partner pairings are made and why it is important to use random pairings. There are many tools and handouts that promote different methods for pairings and groupings. Research shows us that randomly pairing students has a greater impact on student learning than ability grouping or self-selecting partners. Think about how random pairings over time will support the classroom culture of we. As we began this session, we examined the three key elements of effective science teaching and learning. How do Random Talk partners foster this culture of we? Pause the video, take a moment to jot down your ideas. Earlier, I mentioned that effective classroom discussion has an effect size of 0.82. It is ranked 7th in Hattie's list of influences and has a tremendous impact on student learning. This means we must take the time to do it right. Hattie's work also shows that ability grouping has little impact on learning and negative equity effects. With an effect size of 0.12, it has such a small positive impact, it isn't worth doing. Now let's consider how talk partner pairings are made and why it is important to use random pairings. Consider the Sutton Trust Report. The evidence is robust and has accumulated over at least 30 years of research. If schools adopt mixed ability, they are more likely to use inclusive teaching strategies and to promote higher aspirations for their students. Random pairings opens the classroom to all students. Everyone can be successful. Now let's consider how talk partner pairings are made and why it is important to use random pairings. There are many tools and handouts that promote different methods for pairings and groupings. Research shows us that randomly pairing students has a greater impact on student learning than ability grouping or self-selecting partners. Think about how random pairings over time will support the classroom culture of we. As we begin this session, we examined the three key elements of effective science teaching and learning. How do Random Talk partners foster the culture of we? Pause the video, take a moment to jot down your ideas. Earlier, I mentioned that effective classroom discussion has an effect size of 0.82. It is ranked 7th in Hattie's list of influences and has a tremendous impact on student learning. This means we must take the time to do it right. Hattie's work also shows that ability grouping has little impact on learning and negative equity effects. With an effect size of 0.12, it has such a small positive impact, it isn't worth doing. Now let's consider how talk partner pairings are made and why it is important to use random pairings. Consider the Sutton Trust Report. The evidence is robust and has accumulated over the last 30 years of research. If schools adopt mixed ability, they are more likely to use inclusive teaching strategies and to promote higher aspirations for their pupils. Random pairings opens the classroom to all students. Everyone can be successful. There are many online tools that can be used for random pairings. Here are a few to consider. The sequence generator at random.org, the hat found at harmonyhollow.net, and lolly sticks or popsicle sticks drawn from a basket or bag. It is important for the pairings to happen in front of students. Names on popsicle sticks drawn from a bag or an online randomizer can be used for the pairings. I use the sequence generator from random.org in my classroom. Students have a talk partner number. That is the student's number for the entire year. The computer screen is projected so that students see the number pairings, then find their new talk partners. Doing this, students see that the pairings are truly random, that I have not manipulated who is working together. I use a blank roster spreadsheet from Infinite Campus to jot down the partner pairings. Sometimes I have a student do this for me. This helps me remember the current pairings. Here are some questions I am often asked about talk partners. Take a moment to consider each of these questions. What if someone is absent? No one is ever left out of the conversation. If someone is absent, then the partner can join a nearby pair or work as a triad, a group of three, for that day. If students have absent partners, then those students are partners for the day. If a student is absent the day that talk partners change, I know who their partner is based upon my tracking list, which I will discuss in a moment. The student will join another pair for the day and work with their new partner when that student returns. So what if there is an odd number of students in the class? Again, no one is ever left out of the conversation. Also, the odd person is not the same person each time. So for example, if there are 25 students in class, I use 26 as the number for pairing in the sequence generator at random.org. Whoever is paired with number 26 will be added to a talk partner pair, forming a group of three. Each time talk partners change, a different student is paired with number 26, so different students form the group of three. What if a pair is the same as last time? And this is possible and may happen at some point. Remember, we are using random pairings, and with a small grouping, duplicates may happen. I don't change these pairings. Students must trust this process. Talk Partners is about communicating the learning, not who we are or our abilities. We will be changing Talk Partners again in a few days, so the probability of 3 times in a row is small. Even if they are paired for a third time, which has never happened to me, I would not break the pairing. So how do I track which students are Talk Partners? In Infinite Campus, print a blank spreadsheet. At the beginning of the year, I record each person's number so that I know who is paired when I use the sequence generator. I mark new pairings on this sheet each time we change and add sheets as the year progresses. You may find it helpful to have a student help you record the pairings. What if someone doesn't want to do Talk Partners? This is rare, but it does happen. Once a student understands how Talk Partners are used and how it works, then they are willing to participate. I make a point to monitor these cases to make sure these students always feel comfortable and supported. What do I do if someone doesn't adhere to the success criteria? This is one reason why we must facilitate the Talk Partner conversations. As the teacher, I move throughout the room, taking notes as I go. If I notice someone isn't following the success criteria, then that student becomes my Talk Partner. The other partner becomes partner of another pairing. I give feedback to my new partner when it's time to change. Talk Partners should change often. Elementary classes should change each week. New pairings can be determined on Friday. Then these new Talk Partners can sit together on Monday. For older students, Talk Partners may change every 6 to 8 days, depending on what's happening in the classroom. Talk Partners are partners for all classwork. Being a Talk Partner means being that person's face-to-face partner, sit-with partner, and lab partner. The Talk Partner becomes the interdependence partner if someone is absent from class. So for example, Talk Partners may be partners in all classwork during this time frame. If the class is in the midst of a data collection experience, the teacher may wait until it is finished before partners change, so there's continuity in the work. Part of the Talk Partner experience is to provide feedback to the current partner before moving on to the new partner. Feedback is based on the success criteria. It is not about praise. Instead, it focuses on what the Talk Partner has done well and/or may need to improve using the language of the success criteria. The feedback may be written first, then shared as the final conversation before the partner change. So, what is the importance of talk partner feedback? Let's look at a couple of samples from an elementary classroom. William shares with Matthew, "Thanks for being a great talk partner. I really enjoyed learning with you because you made me more happy to share my ideas to the class." Katie tells Kieran, "Thanks for being a great talk partner. I really enjoyed learning with you because I enjoyed trying to help you move your learning target even further." Carson tells Chance, "Thank you for being my talk partner. Based on our success criteria, you are really good at having good attendance, being determined, and listening. An area in which you need to improve is staying on task." This is feedback from a high school class. Notice the feedback is focused on what the talk partner has done well and also an area where the talk partner needs to improve. Students enjoy the talk partner experience. Brittany shares, "I love talk partners because it's a good way to make friends and a good way to get to know everybody." Jordan says, "I love talk partners because they are friendly and nice. They also talk to me like they are supposed to. They don't play when I try to talk." Caitlin states, "It allows me to get feedback from a classmate and gives me a chance to discuss my strong and weak points and know what I need to improve to be a better talk partner." At the beginning of the video, you were asked to think about your use of talk strategies and how you support student use of the strategy. Pause the video. Take a few moments to reflect on what you have read and heard. How will this video and its resources impact your use of student talk? What questions or concerns do you have about implementing talk partners? What supports need to be in place for success? If working with a group or PLC, share your thinking. Consider our focus questions for today. What are you taking away from this session? Take a few moments to think about this. Jot down your thoughts. Take a moment to review our session goals. Have you moved closer to these goals? This is my classroom. Throughout the video, I have shared my experiences using talk partners. Talk partners has been the most effective strategy that I have implemented in my teaching career. All of my classes are currently using talk partners and building a culture where everyone feels heard and knows their thinking is valued. Pause the video. Take a moment to review your talk partner action plan. What will be your next step? Don't be afraid to give it a go. If something doesn't flow the way you want it to, then reflect, make changes, and keep moving forward. Remember, there are many resources available to support you. In addition to the talk video series, you may find it helpful to visit Shirley Clark's website. Also, feel free to reach out to me via email. I will respond to you and am happy to support you. Building this capacity in our students is critical to their sense-making. Join me for the final video in this series. What does academically productive talk look like? We'll take a look into some classrooms to see the strategies from the first two videos in this series in action. I hope you will join me.